Hi, I'm Pat, and in this lesson I'm going to give you an introduction to A6 tuning and show you how you can easily retune your lap steel from C6 to A6 tuning, and more precisely from low C6 tuning to high A6 tuning. So this is going to be for 6-string lap steel, but I will also show you how this can be applied to 8-string lap steel. But before we get started, the first thing you might wonder is, why use A6 tuning? Well, there are several reasons, but the first obvious one, without getting into any technical details yet, is that it's used a lot in Western swing music. People like Herb Remington or Leon McAuliffe used this tuning a lot. So if you want to emulate your favorite Western swing steel players or learn their solos and licks, then you'll need to use that tuning. Okay, now we're going to get into more technical stuff, so let's get to my computer screen where I've made several diagrams for you. And if you want to get those to print them out, then be sure to look that up on my website, www.learningwithpat.com. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so first of all, we need to define what is low C6 tuning and what is high A6 tuning. So low C6 tuning is actually your standard C6 tuning, which is probably the most common C6 tuning out there. That's C, E, G, A, C, E, from the thickest to the thinnest string. And as for intervals, that's root, third, fifth, sixth, root, third. Okay, if you need more details about C6 tuning, I've got a free lesson on the website called Introduction to C6 Tuning, where I talk in depth about this tuning and also show you chords, etc. So be sure to look that up on the website if you need to. Now, as you can see here, you've got that major third on the top string, on the E string, okay? And that's why we call it a low C6 tuning. If we put a fifth on top, that would be called a high C6 tuning. So it would look like this. With the fifth on top, it would be a G string now, and we would call that a high C6 tuning. So putting a fifth on top is actually what we're doing with high A6 tuning. So here is how we get a high A6 tuning from a low C6 tuning. What you basically have to do is tune 2 strings up a half step and 1 string down a half step. So here you tune that low C up a half step to get a C sharp. Then this E string stays the same. Then you tune that G string down a half step now to get a F sharp. Then this A string stays the same. Then you tune that C string up a half step to get a C sharp, just like this one here, but 1 octave higher now. And then this E string stays the same. Okay, so pretty straightforward, as you can see. C to C sharp, here, and G down to F sharp. And the cool thing is, you don't have to change strings. You can use the same set of strings as you use with C6. This is what I'm using. Those are made by GHS. It says A6, but it works great for both C6 and A6. So this A6 tuning is C sharp, E, F sharp, A, C sharp, E, from the thickest to the thinnest string. And notice now how the root is located on that third string, right? So A is the root, C sharp is the major third, here and here as well. E is the fifth, and F sharp is the sixth. So when you strum all the open strings, you now get an A6 chord with only 1 root, 2 thirds, 2 fifths, and 1 sixth. Okay, so the intervals from the thickest to the thinnest string are third, fifth, sixth, root, third, and fifth, which means the intervals in A6 tuning are down 1 string compared to C6 tuning. Let me show you what I mean. As you can see here in C6 tuning, you've got root, third, fifth, sixth, root, and third. And in A6 tuning, you start from the third. See the difference between C6 and A6? So now you start from the third in A6, then you've got fifth, sixth, root, third, and fifth. So the intervals in A6 tuning are down 1 string compared to C6 tuning. Very important to keep that in mind, and I'll show you why in a second. But first of all, notice here this root, third, fifth interval layout on the 3 higher strings in A6 tuning. Those of you who play dobro are probably already familiar with the root, third, fifth interval layout. which means all your dobro licks and scales played on the 3 higher strings of your dobro will also work in A6. That would just be one step higher compared to your standard dobro G tuning. Also in A6, you don't have a root on the bottom string like you have with C6. See? In C6 you've got a root on the 6th string, on the bottom string, and in A6 you've got a major third. This C sharp here is the major third. So if you really want that low A, that low root, you'd either need to tune down your C sharp to A, or you'd need an 8th string lap steel, right? So for you 8th string stealers out there, I'm going to quickly show you what that would look like with 8 strings. So here is one common 8-string tuning for both C6 and A6. I'd like to point out right off the bat that there are many possible variations for the 2 lower strings, here and here. So here this is a very classic 8-string setting with 2 identical pairs of 4 strings. So in C6 that's G, A, C, E, and then it repeats 1 octave higher, G, A, C, E, and then same thing for A6. F sharp, A, C sharp, E, and then 1 octave higher, F sharp, A, C sharp, E. So the important thing that I want to show you here is this 7th string, this low roots. So now you get a low A, a low root in the 8th string version of A6. And also notice this F sharp on the 8th string. So you tune your G string down to F sharp from C6 to A6, just like you did here on this 4th string, and you get F sharp, A, C sharp, E, and then 1 octave higher, F sharp, A, C sharp, E in the 8th string version of A6. So this symmetry in the tuning is definitely a plus if you use an 8th string lap steel, but you know, at the same time, if you're getting started with A6, it can be overwhelming and confusing to use 8 strings. So I would suggest for complete beginners to just stick with 6 strings for now. So let's get back to the 6-string A6 tuning version. And as I've explained, one of the main features of this high A6 tuning is that 5th on top, on the top E string, right? In Western swing music, that 5th on top is used a lot. So if you start transcribing some Western swing solos or licks, you will quickly find out that using that 5th on top is the only way to play those solos or licks. Also, A6 is in a lower register than C6, so this top string sounds less shrill than with a 5th on top in C6 tuning, because in high C6, it looks like this. If you put a 5th on top, that would be a high G, right? Remember that from earlier in the lesson. And that high G is 1.5 step up from that high E in A6 tuning, okay? And for some, this high G in high C6 tuning sounds a bit thin. Okay, so now let's do a quick harmonic overview of A6 and talk a bit about chords. And once again, the way I recommend to do this is by comparing A6 to C6. You know, when you start to learn multiple tunings, it's a good idea to compare the new tuning you're learning to tunings you've learned before, because most of the time you will find many similarities, and that's definitely the case here between A6 and C6. Okay, so this neck here contains the major 6 chords in C6 tuning, and this one here, the major 6 chords in A6 tuning. And in this first example, I've only written down the chords with no sharp or flat root, so that it's easier for you to visualize. So you've got C6, D6, E6, F6, G6, A6, B6, and C6. That's for the C6 tuning. And in A6, you get the same chords, but 3 frets up. Okay, so for example here, this is D6 in C6 tuning, and 3 frets up at the 5th fret, you get a D6 chord. So 2nd fret in C6 and 5th fret in A6. And the other difference is the intervals. Notice here in C6 we've got root 3rd, 5th, 6th, root 3rd, and in A6 that's 3rd, 5th, 6th, root 3rd, 5th. Okay, remember this chart that we've seen before. In C6 you've got root 3rd, 5th, 6th, root 3rd, and in A6 you start from the 3rd, so that's 3rd, 5th, 6th, root 3rd, and 5th. So that's the difference between C6 and A6 tuning. So same chords but different intervals, and 3 frets up. So basically 3 frets up and down 1 string to get the chords in A6 tuning from C6 tuning. Then for the sharp or flat root chords, that is chords with a sharp or flat root. That's the same thing. So now I've written down those chords. Here in C6 tuning, that's C sharp 6 or D flat 6 at the first fret. And in A6 tuning, you get the same chord, but 3 frets up. So now that's at the 4th fret, C sharp 6 or D flat 6. And again, difference with the intervals, root 3rd, 5th, 6th, root 3rd, and in A6, 3rd, 5th, 6th, root 3rd, 5th. Okay, so once again, you lose the low root. Now that's a major 3rd in A6 tuning, but you get this added 5th, this 5th on top, this cool feature of A6. And notice, by the way, this major chord, this full major chord here, root 3rd, 5th. In C6, you only get root and 3rd. Let's talk about another cool feature of A6, and this is what I call low register chords. That is chords that you play in the lower register of the neck, basically the first 2 frets in that case. So let's start with this. In A6 tuning here, on the first 2 frets, you've got A6, A sharp 6 or B flat 6, and B6. So those are chords that you can't get in C6 tuning in a lower register, okay? So that's a cool feature of A6 tuning, those lower sounding chords, which can be pretty useful in some situations. Also, if you're familiar with C6 tuning, you probably know that you can get dominant 7th type chords 2 frets down from your regular major 6th chord on the top 3 strings. So here is what I'm talking about here, those 2 necks. So first of all, this one here in C6 tuning. So this is your regular major 6th chord here. And 2 frets down, you can get a dominant 7th type chord by playing either strings 3 and 2, you get a dominant 7th chord, or if you play all 3 strings, you get a 9th chord. So for example, here, this would be an E6 chord, and 2 frets down, you get an E9 chord, or E7 chord if you only play those 2 strings. And in A6 tuning, that's the same thing, but 1 string down. Remember that? 1 string down, you get the same intervals, so you can get also a dominant 7th type chord, but this time on strings 4, 3, and 2. And what I want to show you here is that you can play this dominant 7th type shapes to get chords in the lower register of the neck. And those would be chords that you can't get in C6 tuning in a lower register. Just like those ones here, those 7th type chords can only be found in A6 tuning in a lower register. So this is pretty useful, you know, depending on the chord progression and the key you're playing in. So here, this would be a B9 chord, or B7 if you only play those 2 strings, then C9, and then C sharp 9 or D flat 9. Okay, so depending on the key you're playing in, this could be pretty useful. And speaking of keys, you will probably notice after a while, if you practice that A6 tuning, that certain keys work best in A6, just like some keys work best in C6 tuning. Let's talk about minor chords now. So here are your minor triads here in C6 tuning with no sharp or flat roots, and then same thing here in A6. So by applying the 3 frets up, 1 string down rule, you can see how you can get those minor chords in A6 pretty easily from C6. So, for example, here in C6 tuning, this is B minor at the 2nd fret, strings 3, 2, and 1. So to get the same chord in A6 tuning, you go up 3 frets and down 1 string. So up 3 frets, that is the 5th fret, and down 1 string, strings 4, 3, and 2. So you get the same B minor chord. For example, here in C6 tuning, D minor. So 3 frets up in A6 tuning, 8th fret, and 1 string down. You get the same D minor chord. Okay, so pretty straightforward, as you can see. And then that's the same thing, of course, for the sharp and flat root chords. So the minor triads here, A sharp minor, B flat minor in C6 tuning, and then in A6 tuning, same minor triad, but 3 frets up, 1 string down, etc. Okay, so this comparison between C6 and A6 is a pretty easy way to quickly learn your chords in A6. Again, that's how I recommend to learn them. And of course, this 3 frets up, 1 string down rule also works for licks and scales that you've learned in C6. Before we wrap this up, I'm going to quickly show you other chords possibilities with A6. So this tuning brings out new minor chord shapes that you can't get in C6. So first of all, this one here on the left. So this is a new type of minor chord shape that you get only in A6. So this forms a minor third interval here and here. So by either playing strings 6 and 5 or 2 and 1 or a combination of both, you get a new type of minor chord. Pretty interesting. And on the right, this is a new minor 7th chord shape. So by playing the top 4 strings, you get a full minor 7th chord with the flat 7th on top. Okay, in C6 you can get 1, 2, but with the flat 7th on the bass note. Okay, so this one here can be pretty useful in some situations too, and that's a new chord shape that you get only in A6 tuning. So there you have it. Let's sum this up. A6 tuning, used a lot in Western swing music. Great tuning to learn classic solos and licks. That's an easy retune from low C6, plus you can use the same set of strings. Of course, one of the best features of A6 is getting that 5th on the top string. And also dobro players will find that root 3rd, 5th interval layout pretty familiar. Another cool feature of A6, getting some chords in a lower register, major 6 and dominant 7th type chords. And also A6 works better than C6 in some keys. And finally, you're getting with A6 tuning new useful chord shapes, a new minor chord on strings 6, 5, 2 and 1, and a new type of minor 7th chord voicing, which can be pretty useful in some situations. Once you got the basics of A6 down, I would suggest 2 great exercises to get even more familiar with that tuning. The first one is to transpose a tune you know in C6 tuning to A6 tuning by applying the 3 frets up, 1 string down rule. If you're not sure what to start off with, I would suggest to check out my arrangement of Bringing On Down to My House in C6 tuning and then transpose it to A6 tuning. It's a great way to start visualizing the neck in A6 tuning. Then another exercise would be to learn a solo in A6 tuning. And the one I recommend is also from Bringing On Down to My House because it uses that 5th on the top string a lot, so it's great to understand and start using that cool feature of A6. I've also made a lesson for that solo, so be sure to look that up on the website. Once again, I'm Pat with learningwithpat.com. Please hit subscribe if you dig what I do, and I see you for many more lessons very soon. Thanks, bye-bye.